the Lord of the Rings video game license were a person, it would be Tom Cruise. Superficially speaking, one of the top names in its respective field, but one minute you're watching him teabag the Grim Reaper by rappelling at the apex of the tallest building in the world suspended by a length of fucking dental floss a la Mission Impossible 4, thinking no one is more dedicated to their craft than this manic depressive mensch right here, and the next he's Baron Von Batshit playing Moonbounce on Oprah's Love Seat and parking his crank in Lindsay Lohan's epiglottis. And Tom, how did the entire state of California's sloppy seconds taste, by the way? I've never fucked a cautionary tale before.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it!
The woman's pussy has a guest worker program. For fuck's sake, she's 28 and looks like she got a skin graft from a fucking basketball.
Get on with it!
Likewise, for every The Two Towers or Return of the King, ringers have languished from tie-in to perfidious tie-in, enduring masterful fare in the process like War of the North and Lord of the Rings Conquest. I'd be lying if I further claimed that I felt confident in the latest Tolkien cash grab courtesy of Warner Brothers Interactive, not merely the same company that somehow managed to drive the most enthralling Batman game series ever made into its present location playing hopscotch with Mole Man at the Earth's mantle, but a video game offshoot of the very same film studio that willfully fucking passed on Peter Jackson's original fucking film trilogy. What a difference 15 years and $3 billion in raw profit makes, eh, Warner Brothers? Not that fellow ringers were taking it lying down. Almost from word Bilbo, Lord of the Rings fans leapt to arms, outright eviscerating flagrant inconsistencies between established lore and the glam-fisted adventures of Super Saiyan Strider, and watching Celebrimbor, a fucking blacksmith by trade for the record, whose breathtaking combat prowess is such that in all 400-odd pages of the Silmarillion, Tolkien deigned to speak of it not fucking once, nevertheless teleporting and doing bullet-time ninja elf shit in single combat with fucking Sauron. It's hard not to wonder in a game whose entire borderline non-existent story is predicated on revenge, exactly what dry ice-wielding ranger ghost is planning to avenge J.R.R. Tolkien's story. The developers naturally have banished all perfectly valid criticism with a hand wave and 2 words. Movie universe, with a lead writer going 17 miles out of his way to repeatedly name-check the Silmarillion as his go-to guide for what little lore found in the game actually does jive with fucking Tolkien. Okay, Chief, let's accept your premise. Let's say the lore is authentic. Beyond authentic, even. It's gears of lore. You're based in the movie universe. Killer. So here's a pertinent query. If your game is so unimpeachably informed by Peter Jackson's film universe, when it came time for your voice actors to pronounce their fucking lines, did you happen to instruct them to actually watch the fucking movies?
Isildur, it mirrors only starlight and moonlight.
These Isildur.
Isildur.
Fuck, I'm gonna need hip waders to traverse this ocean of peerless fucking authenticity, but hey, at least the visuals are up to par, right? Right?
Wrong.
Well, by up to par, you mean the PS4 version looks like a PS3 game and the PS3 version looks like a PS2 game? Then resoundingly fucking yes. Fuck, what happens if you port this to an arcade cabinet? Does it play like a fucking pinball machine? Shadows of Mordor represents without question one of the worst examples of platform optimization I've ever witnessed in my life. Wait, loading screens between menus? Loading screens between camera shots? Sure, those flaws only exist on the last-gen version, but the PS4 and Xbox One aren't without their own laundry list of abilities. Halfway through the PS4 version, having completed every quest required to progress to the next overworld map, I stepped up to the quest beacon and discovered that the mission had only been 71% installed on my console. And stalled there. In perpetuity. A 5-minute Google search revealed forum upon forum filled with people sharing my dismay that a game touted as a triumph in next-gen technology had actually been hobbled by it. And yet the Game of the Year parade marched the fuck on, conveniently unencumbered by pesky fucking facts. Now I know how Ferguson protesters feel. My highly technical solution? Yeah, I fucked around with the side quests and at some arbitrary point the game decided it was done being glitched and I was able to complete the game. Science! Of course, when the game decides to actually fucking function, it's goddamn great. The entire social dynamic of slang or assimilating orc chieftains, albeit randomly generated ones, is immensely addictive. The player can, and in all likelihood will, spend untold hours deposing orc warlords and propping up their own puppet platoon of slavering allegiant drones to challenge the will of Sauron without once considering the existence of, let alone actively engaging in, what passes for a main narrative in Shadow of Mordor. What's more, the act of upturning the Uruk power structure is immensely pleasurable enjoyable on its own, thanks largely to a crisp, responsive combat system punctuated by sudden, shockingly pleasurable eruptions of violence, albeit one made marginally less gratifying by several outright ass-backwards AI design choices. It'd be nice if on occasion when the player begins to unleash a combo, the game wasn't motherfucking hardwired to trigger one of several enemies to immediately goddamn interrupt you. The occasional interruption both cultivates difficulty and conforms to logic. If Steven Seagal's building up his combat multiplier, I'm betting a bad guy with a mustache is going to want to intervene before he commences with a forearm snappage, but every goddamn time...
Die, you bastard! Fuck you and die.
Try to get your combat multiplier even higher.
Every freaking time!
Look, I'm all for difficulty, but sometimes you just want to go Fist of the North Star on a bitch. But that can't happen if every time Kenshiro works up a lather, he has to savagely dry hump the counter button to rebuff the backdoor brigade. And there's your game, folks. Climb tower, synchronize tower, select orc, fight orc, kill and or enslave orc, lather, rinse, fucking repeat. Now combine that with sneaking that couldn't be any more bare bones without a swollen stomach and flies on its face, and we're coming dangerously close to deja vu. Stealth, might I add, that is repeatedly hampered by the uber gimmick that is the perpetual interjection of the fucking Game Boy speaker affixed to the front of the PS4 controller. In theory, hearing the rustle of foliage beneath your feet as your character traverses thick brush, or the clarion call alerting you to the proximity of yet another meaningless Easter egg collectible should irreversibly immerse the player ass first in the dizzying depths of the world of Middle-earth. In actuality, it's like going to a Motorhead concert and just as Lemmy and the gang tear into a sky-raising rendition of the Ace of Spades, some leering, toothless inebriate with sour B.O. starts blasting the very same song through the impossibly cheap Taiwanese speaker on his fucking iPhone and forcibly pressing it against your hapless ear holes at perfectly arbitrary intervals. Between the rumble feature, the goofy fucking Christmas light, and the loneliest touchpad in the world, the battery of the woefully overdesigned PS4 controller already has the life expectancy of a manic depressive fruit fly, so let's go ahead and give the loading screen ham radio melodrama sessions a fucking pass, shall we?
Stay with us. My mother can help you.
I can't. I don't belong here.
너무 배불러요.
제가 사랑한다고요.
나가. 미안해.
Particularly when the ambassador to said melodrama comes in the form of the soothing Anglo-Saxon stylings of Wonder Wasp extraordinaire, voice actor Troy Baker, whose harrowing affront to the English dialect makes Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta sound like a goddamn British native.
Stand up and fight.
Are you like a crazy person?
That ain't an English accent, Counselor Troy. It's a hate crime with punctuation marks. And on the subject of the leaning tower of tabula rasa that is Talion, what does it say about the innate likability of your protagonist when you literally witness his murder and the murder of his entire immediate family in the opening scene, yet after 20 plus hours of measureless mopery, the player still can't bring themselves within 5 light years of giving a fuck?
Tread lightly. My scars run very deep.
Take a fucking Xanax, Sylvia Plath. You got fart-fisted superpowers. Don't like Sauron? May I suggest throwing the moon at him? But take every scathing critique, every last effervescent morsel of untrammeled praise presented in the preceding passages of this video, and chuck it right out the fucking window, because everything galling and great about Shadow of Mordor is completely invalidated by one simple, irrefutable fact. This game is a work of plagiarism, not because I find eerie similarities between the game and other existing titles, not because fellow gamers have rightly pointed out the uncanny resemblance either. This ain't some fly-by-night embittered asshole on the internet accusing a company of theft. The actual senior gameplay coder on Assassin's Creed 2 is the one who originally pointed the finger to begin with, and and at first, second, and 20,000th glance, it's hard not to see the self-evident parallels between the combat and parkour animations in this game relative to Assassin's Creed II. And I quote, "I spent 2 years staring at Assassin's Creed 2. I know it when I see it." While Charles Randall did stop short of accusing Monolith of outright code theft, the actual method of plagiarism is, in my opinion, immaterial. Either it's outright code theft, which is corporate espionage and therefore profoundly illegal, or it's a mimeograph taken from painstakingly observing an existing game and therefore just good old down-home plagiarism. Is the game fun? Absolutely. I could make a great game as well if a third of the gameplay at least was either hijacked from or so heavily referenced as to devolve into an outright copy of an existing work, and then filled the remaining details with my original ideas. If I slapped together art resources from Skyrim, animations from Arkham City, and slapped a rich crafting system utterly without precedent in gaming to fill in the remaining third, I'm betting my hypothetical game would be uniquely fucking entertaining as well. What it wouldn't do is make what I did right.
But she's got a new hat.
I, for one, am physically disgusted by how this story was unceremoniously swept the fuck under the rug by the gaming media. Maybe it wasn't full-on code theft, but if the gaming intelligentsia isn't in the business of at least asking the question and refusing to back off until they receive a satisfactory answer, all while making more than enough time for ham-fisted armchair activism and vacuous fluff pieces about Japanese panty dispensaries, well then gaming journalism has officially outlived its fucking utility. I'm Razorfist. God fucking speed!